Welcome in. We are live to another episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. And oh my God, what a crazy,
Wow.
crazy game. I don't think there's any way there's no other way to say it other than it was a crazy ass game. The Houston Cougars against all logic, whatever you want to say it, somehow escaped and they got their first Big 12 win. Those final 3 minutes, it was just a roller coaster. But without further ado, this is Let's Rage Cruise. We're presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Joining me, as always, Da'Yon Dunlap. Da'Yon, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just feel like it's about time we get blessed by the football gods. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about time. I mean, like the plays that we've given up that's gone against us. I was just once watching, I was just like, about time it swung our way. About time.
Most definitely. It's about damn time. Uh whew, what a roller coaster of emotions.
Man.
And it all got thrown there was a giant wrench that got thrown into it towards the latter portions of the game. If you were listening to the FS1 broadcast, Spencer Tillman, who's the color analyst for the game between Houston and West Virginia on the FS1 broadcast, said that the mood around the program heading into this game was that the Cougars needed a win to save Dana Holgerson's job. And immediately when he said that, that perked my ears up. Kris Gardner, who's going to join us in a second, that definitely got his attention. And at that point, you're like, okay, maybe that makes sense. I mean, let's give credit to Houston for 37 minutes in that game. They look like were they perfect? No, but they executed. They did stuff to come out victorious. They built a 10-point double-digit cushion, and then the last 4 minutes, things just changed when West Virginia was able to march down the field, score a touchdown, convert on the 2-point conversion. Houston
You know,
gets
the key play when they was up 10, Jalen Emery drops that interception.
yes,
Then they go in and they
yes,
score, and then how ironic he gives up the touchdown. They put them back ahead. So I know he's so thankful that Houston came out with this game. But
yes.
that was a key moment when he dropped that interception.
Most definitely. That I'd forgotten about that play, but that's an interception he's got to come away with. Hit both of his hands, dropped it, lets it bounce on the turf, and yeah, they march down the field, they score a touchdown, and they get that 2-point conversion. But even then, Houston gets one first down. They aren't able to get the second. They would have iced the game, but they do pin West Virginia back deep inside. It was around inside the 11, around inside the 12, around that. March down the field. They get to about midfield 20 seconds. They get them on fourth down, and then it was just pandemonium. They convert on a touchdown and give credit to West Virginia. It looked like Houston's defensive backs had miscommunication in there. The tight end or the receiver that got open up the seam, um, literally found daylight, crossed over. There was no Houston defender that was even close to making the tackle. And just like that, Houston found themselves down in
Yeah,
the
it
game.
looked
And
like it was man coverage, and it was almost like it didn't seem like it was like it was intentional picking or sometime the offense running a route with this almost what they intend to do a pick or like a rub route as they call it. I just think this Jalen Emery just kind of got lost on the play and ran into his own teammate, which brought the West Virginia wide receiver open on that play because they're in man coverage with one single high safety. But the one thing that I'm looking at on that play, where is the pass rush? There's too many times where West Virginia was on third and long and the pass rush is just non-existent, where they weren't get there. Next season, second half, they got to get there. But I will say, Dot had a tremendous game. That's what a number 10 that I expect to see on a Houston football game following Ed Oliver. Like he was dominant tonight.
most definitely. And the pass rush, it looked like they were focusing on the last 4 minutes because that's so crazy. But overall, the defense played well to those. They played okay. They played good. Were they great? No, they played good. They had here stops in there. That key interception that was dropped could have very well sealed the game earlier.
Defense played
Little plays here, but for the overwhelming majority of the game, I agree. I think that they played well, and if it had it not been for their position, they would not have even gotten a chance to win this game, especially in the first half, because Houston's offense couldn't move down the field. They couldn't score. We bring in Kris. Kris, can you hear us?
I hear you. I'm trying to log in a different way, but it's not working.
Well, let's get in. Let's join the party. But going back to that fourth quarter, the play right there, it was just shock. And I bring up what Spencer Tillman had mentioned, that it seemed like there was the program felt like Dana Holgorsen had to get this win, and that was something that had not been reported. This is Spencer Tillman's word, so um, is what he said on air. And then we see the collapse, the turnaround happen in a matter of minutes. And then the camera pans to Dana Holgorsen, and his face is just complete shock, disappointment. Um, who knows what was going through his mind, whether Tillman's report was how accurate that is. Only Tillman and whoever he got that information from knows. Looking at Dana Holgersen's face, I would tend to believe Spencer Tillman's report when they panned to his face after the touchdown. Da'Yon, you're muted, but you're muted.
I was just saying, even if he didn't get it from like an official source in regards to someone close to the program, I think just taking the temperature and knowing the temperature of the program, how things are going, I think I would feel confident in saying that, even if I was on air, if I was Spencer Tillman. So I could see that. I mean, anyone watching, kind of keeping the temperature. This is the second game as a broadcast team to call this game, so they're in tune with what Houston and what the fan base is saying. And I mean, you heard him on the broadcast said that he lives in Houston, and so I think that was just kind of him having his temperature on the program, on the city of Houston, with the fan base, and kind of how's it going so far this season. And so, and no surprise there.
Yeah, and 14 seconds left. Here's the kind of the key penalty there. Well, obviously, West Virginia, they score a touchdown. It looks like it's a go-ahead touchdown. I don't think anyone in that building thought that Houston was going to find a way to win that game. I'm curious to see if we could see the win probability charts after West Virginia scored that touchdown, because I'm pretty sure it's going all over the place. But they get a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct for the celebration, and that buys Houston significant key yardage. They ended up going with a bit of a squib kick. Houston returns it to close to midfield. There was 7 seconds by the time the Houston's offense went there. They opt to go the short pass route first, which got them to exactly around midfield. They were at the 49-yard line. I believe they were at West Virginia's 49-yard line. And if kudos to Donovan Smith, because it looks like the pocket was collapsing. It certainly seemed like he was just a few seconds away from getting tackled by West Virginia's defensive lineman. He airs it out, and the rest is just like you said, Da'Yon. The football gods finally smiled on the Houston Cougars, because the ball ricocheted. It tipped over or certainly one West Virginia defender straight into the hands of Stephon Johnson, who he had a phenomenal fourth quarter. He made some key catches, including the touchdown that put Houston up by double digits earlier in the fourth quarter. And he comes away with the Hail Mary touchdown.
He stepped up big once more. Whatever happened with Matthew Golden. Yeah, yep. He definitely stepped up big. 2 touchdowns.
And Houston gets their first Big 12 win, and this is not the old West Virginia. This was a West Virginia team that was one of only 2 teams left in the Big 12 conference that were undefeated in conference play heading into this matchup. And the Cougars become the first team when it comes to the previous American Athletic Conference teams to get their victory in the Big 12. They now improve to 1-2 in conference play, but here we are, 3-3 on the season, and a crazy one at that. Kris, what are your thoughts on those final 4 minutes, just the game overall that transpired?
Oh, I'm gonna disagree with you guys on a lot of things, and that's all right. I like being contrarian. Defense played well in spots. 546 yards given up. That's not good defense. Dodd played well up front, but when they passed the ball, Garrett Green missed some throws. 4th and 10, you can't give up 50-yard touchdown. No, tackling was poor. Defense didn't do enough. Had a break here and there, but it's not enough. The offense came through. and won the game. Got some help with the 15-yard penalty. Donovan Smith was unleashed. Quarterback was more aggressive play calling, was very good. But giving up 546 yards to an iffy quarterback in Garrett Green, that's not good defense. But all of that aside, the Cougs play well in the second half in a Big 12 game. Wait. I thought the Cougs wear down in second halves because it's Big 12 football. That's what Dana Holgorsen has said before when they lose. It's Big 12 football. I mean, what happened today? What was different? Oh, the offense played well. Dana said, well, I'm kind of curious to hear what he says after the game. We find a way to win. Is he going to give his players credit for the win? When he blames them for losses, he takes no responsibility for all that. But the offense came away with the victory. They did it. Salute to them. Got the win. But you can see the comments from the fans. Hats off to the players. The defense. Here, what was the strategy on that fourth down? What was that?
It was man-to-man coverage. If anyone watched the game and they know strategy, they know football, it was man-to-man coverage. Jalen Emery got lost on the play, ran into his defender, and he got lost. And he got beat. It's man-to-man
He got beat. The tight end. I'm surprised West Virginia went away from the tight end. Big man over middle of the field. Cougs couldn't stop him.
It seemed like Jalen.
Hold on, Andy. I want to. You give up a lot of yardage. A lot of people getting lost up in yardage. You give up X amount of yardage, but how much of that yardage converted into points? They did an outstanding job of limiting in times to 3 points, attempted field goals, or even stopping them to get the offense the time to get the ball back, in which it was consecutive times the defense got stops. The offense didn't convert it to points, but they still was able to stop that West Virginia offense to give the offense time to finally get going. And then in that time when they did, defense, of course, gave up more yardage, but that's how the game goes. And they're not a dominant defense where they're going to stop anyone the entire game. But from 80%, 90% of that game, the defense played really well and carried Houston, which allowed the offense to get going, allowed Donovan Smith and the offensive staff to open it up, like you said, Chris, and attack those man-to-man one-on-one coverage, whether it was with Sam Brown, Man Jack, or Steph Johnson, who came in. Snead had a big run. And so watching that game, I don't know how anyone could say the defense didn't play well enough to win.
They didn't. They were on the field for 36 minutes. They were getting run over. West Virginia in the first quarter had 156 or 160 yards in the first quarter. They took their foot off the gas. The defense, I guess, made some adjustments in the second quarter.
They took their foot off the gas.
They only had 40 yards. They only had 40 yards in the second quarter.
They took the foot off the gas. The defense was able to stop their run, and they were still able to convert some of those third and longs. But once the second quarter came, the defense was able to continue to stop their run and able to cover better. They didn't put their foot off the gas. What does that even mean?
And the defensive line did a great job at pressuring the West Virginia quarterback. And that was a big reason why he was inaccurate a lot of times, especially in that first half. Give credit. Houston's offense
in the second quarter. They didn't do that in the first quarter. Third down. West Virginia was 13 for 19. Third down. 13 for 19. 13 for 19. That is not good defense, gentlemen. 13 for 19 is not.
They had 10 points at halftime, but it don't matter how many yards that you give up.
They gave up 29 in the second half.
You give up all of those.
Did they give up 29 in the second half?
And then you give up all those third down.
Did they give up 29 in the second half?
Then you give up all those third down conversions. Then at halftime, you only have 10 points. And so you can say, well, we give up X amount of yards at the half.
I'm not going by yards. They gave up 29 points in the second half to West Virginia. This is not Texas. You act like West Virginia's offense is high-powered. They are not.
Their philosophy isn't high-powered forward, but they have enough talent. The quarterback has enough talent to make the plays that he made. That does not distinguish who they are and what they're capable and how they operate. And or compare them to Texas. Watching that game, you can tell this is Big 12. They have what it takes, and that's why they were able to make the plays.
They must not have it when they lose, because when they lose, they wear it on the second half. Right? That's what the head coach has said. They wear down in second half. It's Big 12 football.
That's what he said.
Down in second half.
That's what he said. Tonight, their D-line also controlled the line of scrimmage. Their D-line with 4, which was able to stop the run.
Who did? Who did?
Houston Cougars defensive line was able to make West Virginia and get them in obvious passing situations and give their quarterback and their offensive play caller credit because they was able to convert a lot of those third down and the longs. But Houston was able to stop them on what they wanted to do in their game plan, which what they was able to do early in the game in that first quarter, which controlled the line of scrimmage and run the football. But Doug Belka, the defense, was able to buckle down and keep Houston in the game until the offense came alive. Was that the game you saw, Andy?
I would say the defense, Chris, I don't think they were as bad as you're making it out to seem. And there's plays here and there where Da'Yon brought up a great
Juanquo
point
was
earlier in the
great
show.
up the middle. He was great getting
Nelson
pressure
Caesar
up the
as
middle.
well.
But
Nelson Caesar as well. He's made some plays.
Da'Yon said, but when I joined, the defensive line didn't get enough pressure down the stretch. He said that himself.
Down the
He
stretch
said
on that
that.
last drive. On the last drive because they didn't blitz. They were dropping in coverage.
I said it in context or something.
Specifically on the last drive.
29 points in the second half to West Virginia. 29 points in the second half to a West Virginia offense.
Who's 3-0?
Donovan Smith and Stephon Johnson won this game for them. Right or wrong? Donovan Smith and Stephon Johnson came back and won this game for the defense. What would y'all have said with 3 seconds left when they were losing? What would y'all have said?
The same thing I'm saying now. The defense
didn't get it done.
Gave up that fourth down play. They should have came up with. They should have. Like you said before you came on, the key turning play in that game was Jalen Emery dropping that interception when they're up 10. He has to make that play. He makes that play. The offense is already rolling. They got a chance to go up even 3 scores, but they don't, and they continue.
Which is my point. They played
plays,
well in spots.
You cannot still say that and say overall context. Of course, it's football.
They played
the other teams are going to make plays.
Y'all said they played great. They played well in spots.
They played well enough to win outside of spots here and there.
No, they didn't, because Donovan Smith and Stephon Johnson won the game with the Hail Mary. The defense gave up the touchdown to put the Cougs behind.
That's factual. That's factual, but it's more than those plays that factored in to that moment.
4th and 10, 50-yard line, they gave up a touchdown. The defense did that. The offense came back and won the game. Salute to the offense. We've been very critical of the offense for most of this season for being pedestrian.
Agreed.
They came through after Dana Holgorsen has said, well, we didn't have the will to win some games. He said that too against his offense.
Right.
Hey, like some folks say, I got receipts. Everything he said, I'm going to use against him.
But we could make the same argument when it comes to the offense. They couldn't pick up the last first down conversion to put the game, to ice the game, and not even have the defense have to come back out there one more time.
Even in the first half, they couldn't do anything.
It wasn't great.
Was able to get stops and to keep the offense back the ball. Like it goes.
Agreed on that last point, Chris. But real quickly, you got to take a pause because this is Let's Rage Coogs, the original Houston post-game show for football and men's basketball. Let's Rage Coogs is presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Dan Lazarine founded the Lazarine Law Firm to provide legal representation to individuals who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarine understands that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. With offices in Houston and Sugar Land, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and surrounding counties, including Fort Bend County here in Texas. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarine Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit Dan online at www.lazarinelawfirm.com for a consultation. Of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsor for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. That is Star Pizza, with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop before or after the game for some pizza. Let's get back into it. Specifically, I want to focus on the comments made by Spencer Tillman, because I think we can all agree on this. That Hail Mary, it's a play. They could do it 100 times, and 99 times out of 100, that tip is not going to happen. Stephon Johnson's not going to come away with the ball.
Knock it down, bat it down. Yep.
So, with that being said, I think we all would agree with the answer. But say that Tillman's report was true and Houston had lost. Johnson doesn't come away with the Hail Mary. Should that win change anything in terms of potentially making a decision at head coach when it comes to Dana Holgorsen?
I still would have been shocked if they'd have lost tonight that he'd be fired during the season. I'd still, I heard Spencer say that Dana had to win to save his job. No way. I just would not have believed they would have fired him during the season. Just would not see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that winning game determines the fate of his job. I think, I mean, I can understand, like I kind of explained why Spencer Tillman would say that. I still think Dana is probably in the same predicament that he was, whether he win this game or not, in regards to the season. I think they will reconsider his job as head coach once the season depends on how it ends. But I don't think this one game, whether they just because they won, he's quote unquote off the hot seat.
Yeah,
And
I agree 100% with the two
the
of you.
announced attendance was 32,000. So that's what tickets were sold. Based on the
It was not
TV, that was
32,000
not
people.
that
No way.
in the stadium.
No.
But the issue, and we know next Saturday's game is a sellout. Might be a whole lot of Longhorn orange in the stadium. If the Longhorns rout the Cougs will. Well, Andy, back to you now, Mr. Guarantee. What say you? Have you kind of wavered there a little bit? Are you still guaranteeing the Cougs will beat the Longhorns next Saturday to improve the 2-2 in Big 12 play?
You know what? I've been consistent with it for an overwhelming majority of the past 7 months since the schedule came out. At this point, 3-3. Texas just faced their first loss. They're no longer undefeated. They lost to Oklahoma. Maybe this is the spark. This is exactly the spark that the Houston Cougars needed to start and build. Hey, they're 3-3. They only need 3 more wins to be bowl eligible, Kris. Maybe this is the spark that officially kicks off their quest to become
So are you sticking with your guarantee that the
You know
Cougs
what?
will
3 p.m. kickoff. I'm sticking with my guaranteed. Rex 32. I guaranteed it. So you know what? First win. I think this kind of been lost over the course of the first 20 minutes. Houston finally got their first Big 12 win in program history after the third attempt. The third time was a charm. Here's why. Let's look at I feel like we've been focusing too much on the glass half empty on the first 20 minutes. Let's look at the half glass full. Let's say in a perfect world, obviously we don't live in a perfect world, but let's say that Jalen Emery comes away with that interception and it stops West Virginia from being able to score the touchdown that even puts them in position to have the walk-off touchdown on their final drive of the game. Say Houston wins by double digits. They're one play there from winning by double digits. Whoa, we had a shift in.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Just for a second. Let's say that Jalen Emery comes away with
the guarantee clip, and you got to get the guarantee clip on you. That's what you got to get. Yeah, you got to get that. Go ahead.
I'll play in a second. But let's say that Jalen Emery comes away with that stop. Get an interception. Houston wins by double digits. One play can completely change the mindset that we have in terms of Houston. And let's be honest, they were lucky to come away with the victory. They were extremely lucky to come away with a victory with the way things fold out. They're one play there from maybe they're not even in that position. They win by double digits. Let's say that the offense, Kris, I agree 100% when it comes to the play calling on that last drive. It was very conservative. And the biggest thing, they didn't use their best player in Donovan Smith. They didn't use him when it came to the running game. They used him once, I believe, that entire drive. Out of the 5-6 plays that they had to try to ice the game, they only used him once as a runner. And that's really where, in the second half, he was really effective, having that mix, having that balance. Let's say they get that first down, they ice it. Again, they still win by 5. Much different mindset going into it. Even going into the first half, say Houston's offense is able to put just one drive that ends either in a field goal or touchdown. It could be very different. We're starting to see things where there's hope. There's hope. Even going back to the Texas Tech game, but they got shut out in the second half. That first half, there's hope. The biggest question mark that, Kris, you alluded to it, whether it's what the coach has said in the past, that the depth is not there, or they don't have enough depth to stop them from getting tired. Whatever the reason, the true reason is, they just haven't been able to string together. But I think they're getting close. And it's got to be very, very optimistic that this game against West Virginia, they looked the best until those last 4 minutes. They collapsed in the last 4 minutes. They looked at the best that they had all season long. that's got to count for some optimism points.
No, well, to carry your point further, I would hope it opens Dana's eyes to realize what Donovan Smith can do if you let him maximize his skills. The passes he made, the runs he made, it was a good mix-up for much of the game. He was rolling. He had confidence in the play calls. I mean, the percentage he had passing numbers, 21 for 27. What do you have, like 14, 15 straight completions? That's the offense that fans expected to see from Houston this year. Not this, Dana, what are you calling stuff? Maybe the time off helped Dana realize I'm making things too complicated. I'm overthinking stuff. Let Donovan be Donovan. If he gets that from this game, that's a positive. So we'll see next Saturday. Clearly, it's a different opponent. But tonight, he let Donovan be Donovan, and Donovan shined. And that's what you want to see from a quarterback. Give him a chance to shine with his skills. Let him do what he does best.
And not only feed into the strength of your offense's strength is on the perimeter. You got really good receivers, no matter who you're throwing to, starting with Sam Brown. I mean, he can beat one-on-one coverage, and they playing at too high safety with man-to-man with off coverage. And you got those stop routes, those comebacks, and those different routes that they started to attack. So, like you said, that's a great point for him to open up the offense, allow Donovan Smith to utilize the strength of the offense and the strength of the skill set and throwing the football. But I think the hope, I saw the hope last week. I mean, both of you guys were saying that you was expecting Houston not to win any more games in the rest of the Big 12. And I was like, I don't see that, because they've been competitive and they had a chance to win this game. So it's been glimpses of in football games of where if things would have went differently, they could have won. And so similar with tonight, if things could have went certain ways, they could have lost, but it went throughout the entire game. They was in it, and they could have won, and they should have won, and was able to finish it out. Although be it in a Hail Mary fashion, but it was still ways for them to win the game, and they was able to do it. So it's still conducive with what I've seen all year in regards to in spots, the defense playing good, in spots, the offense, then the special teams, but they was able to kind of put it together consecutively. With the defense was able to get stops, the offense put it together, special teams came through. And so I still think Houston has the talent, and I think they have a chance to continue to surprise some of these teams and not just lose out the rest of the season.
But the issue is us fans have said before tonight's game, Donovan Smith is better when they play fast. We're not the coach. We shouldn't be the ones seeing that, pointing that out. It shouldn't take 6 games into the season for the coach to realize that. This was game 6. Oh, well, Donovan, this seems to be your best chance to shine. Really, Dana? It took you 6 games into the season to realize that? Don't forget it for the other 6 games of the season. Let him do what he does best, and let us see if he can continue this. Different opponents, he might believe, 15 straight completions. That won't happen a lot, but he made good throws. They were aggressive. The play calling, receivers, the routes. It was a lot that fans have wanted to see all year. Let's see what happens the rest of the season.
And they was able to spread the ball around too. You can't just key on 1 or 2 people on Houston offense to be like, we stop this guy, then we can kind of take them away. Even the tight end, they got a couple catches. So I think it's about like Kris is saying, this is the offense that we expected when you hire Dana Holgorsen. You expect a high-powered offense and an aggressive offense. And to your point, Andy, too, in that last drive, they got conservative instead of going to what was working, what was hot, what was your quarterback, the way the receivers are able to beat their defenders, and being aggressive to go win the game and not trying to kind of run the clock out. I mean, I know you want to run some clock, but at the same time, still be aggressive and go out and win the game and take the game and not put your defense back on the field.
Houston's not a team that can run the ball at will. They haven't been able to do it over the course of the first 6 games. And where they have found success is when they are playing up tempo. Even going back to that first half against Texas Tech, they were really moving the ball effectively when Kris, like you've alluded to multiple times throughout the show, they put the ball in Donovan Smith's hands and they let him make quick decisions, even when it comes to some of the RPOs. One of the touchdowns that they scored during the second half against West Virginia or leading up to it, came on a lot of RPOs. That's when this iteration of the Houston Cougars seems to be at its best. Real quickly, I want to play a 25-second clip from Dana Holgorsen. This is courtesy of GoCougs.com. They posted it on X, officially previously known as Twitter. But Dana Holgorsen describing the Hail Mary catch from Stephon Johnson, if I could play
it. So Stacy did a good job of knocking that ball down and getting it vertical to the 45. They played way off, so we just hit a sideline route that got us to the 50-yard line. And then I felt like Donovan could get it from there. They defended it well. He made a spectacular play. So it goes from being as mad as I can possibly be to being as happy as I've been in this profession in 32 years.
The happiest he has been in his profession in 32 years.
That's honest too, though. You go from mad to happy.
Mad, but also probably disbelief. Like on that touch, are you serious? We played well and then give up that play. Really? I think that was part of his emotion also. But I've said it. I've been critical. This team found a way to win. And give them credit. They found a way to win. That's why I tossed the rocks back at Dana for questioning his players. Not having the will to win. We just didn't. Come on, man. They came from behind, and according to some folks, tonight they might have saved your ass's job. So salute the team for coming through and getting this win and getting their first win in Big 12 football.
And they really respond in regards to being out physical and how he kind of saying we don't have the depth inside and his players wore down. And the same players went there tonight. They didn't wear down. They were posted down in the trenches. Yeah. And they stopped the run-first team who priority in the game is to run the football, control the time of possession, and they put them in passing situations numerous times, which they was able to convert. So you give hats off to them. But for the game plan coming into the game, they was able to execute that. So he must give credit to them for doing it, as well as the offense for being resilient and turning it around.
And I hope when the media department sends out post-game comments, I hope some of those comments from Dana are more positive and giving credit to his players, because he's a different kind of dude after a win. And after losses, oh my goodness, everything is wrong. Not my fault. But after wins, we really look good. We played great. We did this right. We did that right. Whole nother. Okay, so let's see. Give everyone credit for this win, for this come from behind win. It's exciting. It was thrilling. The fans who stuck around and stayed to the very end, salute to you as well. You saw the Cougs get their first Big 12 football win.
And they got to storm the field.
I missed that part. Okay.
I got a question for you guys. One in the interview with I did with Stephen Dunbar, he talked about the culture that was established when they had Herman and during that run when they had, and he talked about, we know it's cliche when you talk about to the men's football team, but he really, that was the word he mentioned, having a winning culture and having a togetherness, and what they not only on the field but off the field. That way, if they consistent with their prep and how they are as men, and it converts to on the field. Do y'all think Dana can implement in a winning culture? Because I personally don't see it and haven't seen it in him implementing a good culture. But can he implement a successful culture? Because the talent is there, in my opinion. You have what you need to win. Is it the culture and the belief that starts from the top and trickles all the way down to the players?
I just don't see it, Da'Yon. I just don't see it. He has to prove it to me. I just don't see it. I think a better coach, more accountability, and all those things, this team would not be having issues that they've had. No, I just don't see it. Prove me wrong. I'll just put it like that. Prove me wrong.
That last point you just made, Kris, is a great point. And I hate to constantly have to be comparing Dana Holgorsen with the men's basketball team and Kelvin Sampson, but something that Kelvin Sampson always says is watering the roots when they're talking about the program and being able to establish a culture that's consistently successful. And I think that's been something that has been an issue with the football team under Dana Holgorsen, being able to have sustain success. Even going back to 2021, that year when they went 12-2, where a lot of fans would really have confidence in a Horson is if they would have shown the same toughness, the same consistency carry over into 2022 and not follow it with an 8-5 season. Then that's when people would have a much different tone, much different thinking of Dana Holgorsen, because they weren't able to build off of that. And it came across like more that 2021 12-2 season was an aberration much more than it was an established culture. And for that reason, at this point, they sit 3-3 in the first year in the Big 12. There's not confidence. And like Kris said, he needs to prove everyone wrong that he can do it. And it has to be consistent. And maybe next week against Texas, big opponent, no one's going to expect you to win except maybe me and and some other people. I mean, some people might say that even I didn't expect them to win going into the game against Texas. But if they can stack and continue to keep building on what they did today, it looks like they put Texas Tech in the rearview mirror. They put TCU in the rearview mirror. They built on what they did well in that game, and they got their first win against a Big 12 opponent against West Virginia. However lucky it was, however fortunate it was, put that in the rearview mirror. The bottom line, they won. Now, how do they look next week? Do they look like they're continuing to stack up that positive momentum? And if they do, maybe slowly you can get that belief back. But just in the past, because the consistency hasn't been there, I don't think anyone will look at you straight in the face, Da'Yon, and say, I have 100% confidence Da'Yon, that Dana is going to be the guy that can establish a winning culture.
I agree. Can you pull the clip that the Go Coogs just posted on X? Donovan Smith.
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, both of you guys. I don't think so either. I don't see it. And that was one of the points he mentioned in regards to talent, that Houston not only is a hotbed for recruits, in which we know that they always have a high level of talent. It's just about having the right coach that implements the right culture and develops that for them to be able to success. Because he said when Herman came over, he was surprised at the level of talent that he had, and he was like, "Oh no, we got to keep a lot of you guys because we can win." Mm-hmm. And so I agree with what you guys said. I don't know. I have to see it to believe it.
And what year is this for him?
Year 5.
This is year 5, right? We're in his 5th year, and we're saying we have to see it to believe it.
Right.
That's a problem. That says it right there. The fans, and Andy said, we've all touched on a little bit in this show and on social media. The fans do not have hope in him to turn it around, to get it right. This win was great. It's a great boost for the players. It's a boost to some of the fans. Let's see them be aggressive in play calling next Saturday against Texas. Be aggressive. Compete.
Pull out all the stops. At the end of the day,
some trick plays, whatever.
You have nothing to lose.
Yes. Be aggressive.
Surprise onside kicks.
Do the things showing that you are trying to win. Don't just go back and resort to the conservative play calling and, well, they're better than us on paper, so I'm not going to try everything in my playbook. Forget all that, man. The objective is to win. Give your players the best chance to win. Fans can't accept that and respect it. Not many fans, other than Andy's guarantee, believe the Cougs have a chance in hell next Saturday. But if they compete and provide the fans hope and something to build on for the rest of the season, they will accept that. Let's not come back after the next Saturday's post-game show and it's Longhorns 45, Cougs nothing, and the Cougs, and we're back to, what was he calling today? What was this? What the hell was he thinking kind of stuff? Let's not go back to that.
Yeah. Most definitely. Real quickly, you're going to hear from Donovan Smith on the other side of the break, but I'd like to remind everybody that they are watching Let's Reach Coogs presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Dan Lazarine founded the Lazarine Law Firm to provide legal representation to individuals who have been injured or arrested in the greater Houston area. Dan Lazarine understands that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Worse, false allegations are made every day. With offices in Houston and Sugar Land, Dan is equipped to handle your legal needs in Harris County and other surrounding counties across the greater Houston area, including Fort Bend County. If you have been injured or find yourself in other legal trouble, call the Lazarine Law Firm at 281-720-8551 or visit Dan online at www.lazarinelawfirm.com for a consultation. Of course, we also like to say thank you to our secondary sponsor for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, and that is Star Pizza with multiple locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before or after the game for some fresh and hot pizza. And let's hear what Donovan Smith had to say after Houston's improbable come from behind Hail Mary victory 41-39 to secure their first Big 12 conference win.
First, does that play usually work in practice?
We usually do it on air, so we're 100% so far. So yeah, so we're 1 for 1 in the game. So I can say it always works in practice.
And the celebration, where were you sort of in the mayhem there?
Yeah, I threw the ball and I kind of just stood on the like where I was. And I was kind of just in shock. I was like, "There's no way that just happened." And I was like standing there. I was like looking around. I'm like, I see people running past me, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I found Dana. I started hugging Dana and jumping with him like we little kids and stuff like that. And then I was like, man, I gotta go celebrate. So I ran down to the pile. Everyone was jumping on books and stuff like that. And then I think it probably took like 20 minutes to make my way from that end zone to the other end zone and then into the tunnel. So it was a great time. It was much needed.
So that clip right there, you know what that tells me? That's a quarterback that he still trusts his head coach. He still has confidence in his head coach. What say y'all?
He respects his head coach. I'll say that. He respects his head coach.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious if he said in his ear, "See, coach, if you let me play like this, I can do this." But we'll see going forward.
Yeah, I agree, Bo. I think he respects him and he has confidence in him. I think, not only just from seeing what he was able to do with Clayton Tune, I think that probably brought Donovan Smith to Houston and like, okay, I can do a lot of those things and probably do even more, would bring him to have confidence within his system. So I think he has the confidence and I think he has the respect. And I think he's just gaining more confidence in the system. I think he's playing more freely and playing more confident when the play calling allows him to do so. And they also need to continue to use him, I think, in the running game early on first and second down, but primarily on first down, so they're not behind the chains and distance on second down. They can get that third and shorten the play calling. The play calling is still open on third and manageable situations. But I think he plays well when he can have that first read and he know where to go with the football. I think when he has to hold on to it, he almost threw a pick early when he was kind of going through his progressions, then went late over the middle. And so when he can assess the defense and maybe adjust the play calling at the line to recognize the coverage and the man-to-man coverage, he can make any throw. So like Kris is saying, I think up the tempo, he plays better when he's in a rhythm and they complete passes, but you got to complete passes to get in rhythm and get first down. So some of that is on him to make the plays, to continue the drives in the offensive line, whether it's holding penalties and different elements of the game. But it's good to see him to have the game and have the consistency and the efficiency that he had with the good receivers that Houston has on the outside.
Corey Miller brings up a good point in regards to the offense, too. The offensive line held up pretty well. Donovan Smith had all day to throw.
Second half, for sure. Second half.
Even
First
when
half,
you think of the Hail Mary, they bought him in more than enough time to be able to actually get the ball off and even give Houston a chance. But yeah, they were phenomenal. Outside of a couple of holding and false start penalties that were here and there, I don't think you can ask for the offensive line to have a better performance, specifically when it comes to pass blocking.
Right side, right tackle. First half, I was like, oh my gosh, he got bull rushed a few times, but he did a better job in the second half. He got some help on that side as well. We've been critical of the offense. The Cougs made adjustments at halftime, apparently, and offense worked. It clicked. Things that didn't work in the first half, they didn't do. They went away from that and did things that worked in the second half. So, at last.
Yeah, they played really well going into halftime, was able to sustain the drive to get points. Then they played well coming out into the second half, and they was able to sustain it and play well within the fourth quarter, which they haven't seen. It was just like first quarter, then the second half, it'd be kind of down. So their consistency and throughout times in the game was able to help them be better. But I still am optimistic. I think they can surprise some people in some of these games and still managed to make it to a bowl game this year.
Dan, I just noticed this when I saw Parker's comment. My man, I know you're from the area and all up there, but really? Really? You picking the Rangers beat the Astros in the series? All right, y'all know where he is. Y'all know how to find him. So that's all I'm going to say on that.
We're going with the World Series champions, but I digress. It's going to be a good series, but that's on Sunday. Let's focus on the Houston Cougars and their improbable victory after what seemed like was going to be heading into the 5 minutes. I thought it was going to, yeah, it seemed like it was going to be an improbable loss, but they looked like they were in a comfortable position. I honestly thought that even that 5 points, they were going to find a way to hold off and win. And then when they still had about a minute and 17, when they gave the ball back to West Virginia with a minute 17, I was like, uh-oh. And then they slowly started moving down the field. I got my hopes up when they got the 4th and 10. They'll hold. And then they gave up the touchdown, and it was just utter shock. It was, again, going back to the beginning of the show, the roller coaster of emotions that those last 2 minutes had on this game was just crazy. It was incredible how quickly the tide turned. But let's look at running game. This is one other point I do want to make. Stacey Sneed, he by far had his best game of the season today tonight against West Virginia. Something just popped out. Dana Holgorsen, something we touched on his comments that he had during the week, but he said that Stacey Sneed is a player that they needed to get more minutes for, more plays for. They did that today, and he showed out. And that just goes to show that today, Da'Yon, a phrase that you said over the course of the last few weeks, that Houston had, in order for them to be successful, they need to play complementary football. And they absolutely did that today against West Virginia for a good portion of the game, for a majority of the game. Or just enough to be able to come out with the victory. It's special teams. Special teams is the one unit for Houston all season long, or outside of Texas Tech, where they've just been that's been a point. And Matthew Golden, again, according to GoCoogs.com, Dana Holgorsen said that he dealt with a groin injury, and that's why you didn't see much of him after in the second half. He had the kickoff return touchdown. Coverage all night on special teams was phenomenal, not only on returns, but coverage against West Virginia. And ultimately, that's why one of the differences why they were able to come away with the win. Even though the offense struggled to put up points in the first half, the defense was able to hold West Virginia off the scoreboard, keep them off the scoreboard. And then the second half, when the offense started to get going, they made enough plays to come away with the victory, and it was top to bottom. We talked about Steven Johnson, who came in with the big play. He had a big touchdown in the fourth quarter. Samuel Brown, we haven't even talked about him. He had another strong performance. He had a Randy Moss-esque catch in the quarter to, I think that was a go-ahead touchdown at first when West Virginia led 17-14 or 21-17 at one of those points. Multiple players stood up and made plays, and that's a big reason why the Cougars won.
Let me, if y'all don't mind, is this person talking about the play that was blown dead? That one?
Yeah, the fumble.
Yep. Okay. As it was said on the broadcast, the refs stopped, blew the play dead when in the refs'
stopped forward momentum.
Play's over. That's why they stopped it for player safety. They stopped the play. That's it. Wasn't anything about him losing the ball after the fact. The refs stopped right there because they felt his forward momentum was done. That's it. Whether you agree with it or not, they felt for player safety, whatever, the runner was done. So that's it. They stopped the play.
It did seem like an early whistle. That was Parker Jenkins on one of his returns where he was swarmed by 5 different West Virginia players, and they took much longer to blow that play dead than they did that one. But at the end of the day, Chris, now you said absolutely right. The referees blew the whistle dead, and it was almost instant. It was matching. It was almost identical, and the whistle blew, and the ball came loose.
I don't like,
Can't do nothing
the
about it.
whistle being blown. That I don't like the inconsistency on that. I'm not sure what to think about this, but I hate pushing quarterbacks in the butt, the back, stomach, whatever, to get them across the goal line. Garrett Green was stopped short of the end zone, and his teammate pushed him into the end zone. I hate that. Why not just let the offensive people just push guys all the way down the field if it's okay? I mean, why is it okay at the 1 yard line to push guys in the butt push, or whatever you want to call it, the tush push, whatever? But at the 10 yard line, oh no, can't do that. What's the difference? Pushing someone, if they're stopped, don't let his teammate, running back, offensive lineman, receiver, anybody else come from behind and push them forward and give them extra yards.
And you know what's also crazy? I was thinking watching the game, Houston on not 4th and 1, on the 1 yard line on the goal to go situation. Houston goes to a quarterback power, and what's been calling for that play would make an 11 on 11. You get an extra blocker with the running back, then the quarterback with his size and his strength has the ability to do that. While Houston don't do that when they have 4th and 1 situations, they normally be in shotgun and hand it to the running back. And I was thinking about that when they did that on the goal line, and that should be the strategy. Whether it was something they struggled in on numerous times on 4th and 1 situations, but glad they didn't have that. But that's just something, as Kris just brought up that point, I was thinking about.
Corey Miller's comment, that actually ended up helping Houston because the player went down and the Cougars ended up getting it was an additional 13, 17 seconds to run down because
the
they
clock was reset.
Yeah, they reset it at 40, so it actually helped the Cougars in their favor. At the time, West Virginia didn't have any timeout, so didn't necessarily hurt the Cougars in any way, shape, or form. The last comments as we begin to wrap things up here on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Go back to the defense. The old saying, don't ignore in victory what you wouldn't ignore in defeat. Houston got the win. They got their first Big 12 win. That's phenomenal. They were a miracle play away from, like Rusty Reed put it, having one of the most disappointing losses in UH history, and there are some issues. Reed specifically focused on the defense when it comes to the inability to stop West Virginia on the final 5 minutes. The offense isn't necessarily excluded from that as well. They weren't able to ice the game, so there's still a lot to improve on. Which is going to be the biggest challenge left on the season next week, October 21st at TDECU Stadium against Texas. What can the Houston Cougars learn from this game and specifically tighten up against a powerhouse that's going to be coming into TDECU Stadium?
Be aggressive on offense. Keep spreading the ball to your wide receivers. And number 10, Mr. Nwankwo, was a bad man. He took on 2 dudes a lot. He needs help. If he can continue, play that man more minutes, get him more snaps. He makes an impact up front, and that's one thing the D-line needs is push from the middle. But offensively, just be aggressive. We've said it. Be aggressive against the Longhorns. Be aggressive the rest of the season, regardless of the opponent. Be aggressive in your play calling.
I would say got to cover on the back end. Cornerbacks got to be able to cover and be smarter in their awareness of the down and just in the situation. You cannot give up that 4th and long touchdown. They gave way too many 3rd and long conversions to long throws to a team and a quarterback who isn't primarily a throwing team. And so the ability to cover on the back end, I'm also going to challenge Sac Ave to, when you guys get them in passing situations, that's what Sac Ave kind of lays their hat on, is getting it obvious in passing situations and getting pressure and getting to the quarterback, so not giving him time and making the secondary have to cover for so long. And so it goes both ways. But in those passing situations, D-line got to get there. But if not, the cornerbacks has to be able to coverage and they have to be able to make tackles. If they do that, then they could put even more of a complete game, because they stopped the run tonight, which is something they haven't done pretty much none this season in regards to against Big 12 teams. And so that was a bright spot. Doc played up big. He looked like a number 10 on the D line, and what a number 10 is supposed to look like in reference to following an Ed Oliver. So I'm tipping my hat to him 100%. That's what I expected when you wear number 10 and you play that position following Ed Oliver. But the defense and the coverage ability. Other than that, there was times where Doug Belk will call the perfect play, and the defense still give up the play because they pointed out on the cover on the broadcast, man, with the quarterback spy, which is the perfect play call.
He jumped.
Yes.
Still
He jumped for no reason.
And so, I mean, sometimes
at the end of the day, the players have to execute.
So they have to be able to execute and remain focused in those situations.
Yeah. Parker Ainsworth's got good sayings going on today. So scared money don't make none. Got to risk it to get the biscuit. And definitely against Texas,
Parker
we're going to be the underdogs.
Man, Parker, join us next time.
Most definitely. He's already doing on postgame show. Might as well just join us after you finish. He finished his early, so that's why he's able to comment. But Parker has an open invite to come on the show whenever. If he wants to do some double duty, he's more than welcome to join us. But when it comes to Texas next Saturday, I just repeat what you guys said. It's just all a matter of throwing stuff and see what sticks. And specifically when it comes to Texas, they're going to be motivated coming off the heels of the loss to Oklahoma, the first loss of the season, trying to bounce back and keep their hopes at a potential playoff berth alive, period. So they're going to be very motivated. So you have to find a way to be more aggressive, because if they don't come locked in, it's going to get ugly early, because the Texas Longhorns aren't trying to play around. And at the end of the day, this is the first meeting between these two programs in 21 years. And the Houston Cougars haven't beaten the Longhorns since, when was it, Kris? 1992? 91?
Like that. Yeah.
That was 9 years before I was born. Kris,
I think I was a student at
the University of Houston.
Yeah.
It's been so long. The energy at that game is going to be crazy. And if it's 50-50, if it's 60-40 with more orange than red, just see what sticks. All out blitz. Do whatever you can to pressure the Longhorns on offense. Every trick play in the book that Dana Holgorsen has in that mindset, go ahead and try to execute it, because at the end of the day, why not? You don't have anything to lose, and you have everything to gain from trying to play spoiler.
Roll the dice.
Send the Longhorns with a
back up your guarantee
to the SEC.
One of the ironies, I don't think it was going to matter, but with the Cougs winning tonight, it diminishes maybe even just a little bit the Longhorns looking past the Cougs, because if they were 0-3, they're 0-3.
UT coming off a loss, so I know they're hungry. They ain't overlooking. But coming off a loss,
they're like, okay, they can score points. Let's lock in. We got to finish our season strong. Let's kick their butts now. So any hint of, they're nothing. We ain't got to worry about them. They can't even score points against whoever. That's gone. So Andy, you and your guarantee. Everybody, 3 p.m. next Saturday.
3 p.m. Central Time.
Cougs, just be aggressive. If you're going to lose, be aggressive in the defeat. But let it all hang out. Leave no stone unturned. Give the Longhorns, that was closer than we thought. Let them think about it.
They have a real challenge stopping the run against a really, really good offensive line and some talented running backs. So that'll be something in which they was able to successfully do that against a good running team today. But let's see if they can duplicate that against an even better offensive line, even more talented running back group.
And that's going to do it for today's episode of Let's Rage Cougs. Once again, the final score: the Houston Cougars get their first Big 12 victory and improve to 1-2 in conference play, 3-3 overall in the season by beating West Virginia 41-39 off the heels of a Hail Mary pass. Donovan Smith connects with Stephon Johnson for a 49-yard Hail Mary touchdown after Houston led double digits. West Virginia.
Dinner from Kris.
What do I get if UH wins next week?
Well,
That's
I
a good
was the
question.
one he brought it up guaranteed on his own months ago.
Months ago.
But
That's when before the schedule even came
yeah,
out.
I was way
Uh,
long time ago. But bragging rights for sure. We'll figure something. Let the
I'll
fans
walk around
decide what Andy
TDEC
gets.
Stadium with a sign saying I was right. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll come up with it. And if they lose, then I don't know. We'll say something. We'll come up with something too if they lose. But they're gonna win, so I'm not even worried about that scenario. We'll find some type of bragging rights. What I was gonna say, once again, the final score: Houston gets their first Big 12 victory. They're victorious, 41-39 over West Virginia. Kind of an interesting point. Volleyball team, soccer team, now the football team, they all got their first Big 12 victories against West Virginia. So those other programs too, after they beat West Virginia, they kind of got on a little bit of a streak after beating West Virginia. So maybe the football team can stack up on those. On topic of Houston, Texas, they're going to be matching up on volleyball at the Fertitta Center this weekend on Sunday. First sellout, actual
Saturday and
first
Sunday,
sellout.
right?
I think so, over the weekend.
Yep.
But that's the first true sellout of the Fertitta Center for a volleyball game, which is a volleyball match, which is pretty awesome to see. And on that topic, Kris, I'll toss it over to you. Thank you, as always, for joining us on the show. Where can people find you? And any final comments you'd like to add?
First, to Corey Miller, yes, there will be an FTS show before the Astros Rangers game on Sunday. I'll have my colleague Kanitra Pulliams on as we get ready for next week's Big 12 basketball tip-off in Kansas City. Just follow me on the platforms at Houston Roundbar Review on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Thank you, everybody watching on YouTube at Houston Roundbar Review. Been doing it since 1994. Keep plugging along. Thank you for the support. Houston Roundbar Review, local name, global perspective.
And my name is Andy Yanez. You guys can follow me on X/, formerly known as Twitter, at Ayanez_5. More importantly, Raul HD. I think I couldn't have said it. None of us could have said it better. He's happy for the Cougs tonight. They fought like hell to get that win. And honestly, they deserve it. The Cougs deserve it with all the hard work that they have put in. And he puts go Cougs. We'll be back next week again. What is going to be the toughest challenge on the schedule when it comes to Houston on the football team going up against Texas. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys that took the time to comment, to watch, to support us in any way, shape, or form here on Let's Rage Cougs, presented by the Lazarine Law Firm. Thank you, of course, to the Lazarine Law Firm and to Star Pizza for being a sponsor of today's episode of Let's Rage Cougs. And Da'Yon, you get the final word. Close us out.
You can follow me on all social media platforms at Da'Yon Dunlap, like the show is right there on the screen. Hell of a win for Houston. Way to fight back. Way to continue to fight and not give up after that tremendous touchdown by West Virginia. Happy for the Cougs. Now it's continue that momentum, reset, rebound, and shock the world again against Texas next week. Of course, you can't end any episode without saying go Cougs, man. We appreciate all the support.